Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Nature's Calls podcast, your home for all things Chargers football. As always, I am your host, Nature Erdman, here to break down what we've heard over the last couple of days and so far this week. So, obviously, we've had the Keenan Allen workout. A little bit more news has come out about that, even though we haven't seen an official signing. The whole Denzel Perryman situation has finally been resolved. We signed a free agent today and some other just general trade news and things like that have gone on. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. These are Nature's Calls. So, first of all, let's talk about the man of the hour. He deserves front and center stage because he's one of the greatest Chargers of all time, and that's Keenan Allen. Disagree with me all you want. Consider the fact that he's washed. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to be like Seahawks fans out here who rightfully so get frustrated with their team that why can't anybody just retire a Seahawk? We've done this as Chargers fans too. LT has left. Phillip left. Do you want these people to leave the Chargers and have a bad taste in their mouth? At some point, I want people to be able to be proud that they were a Charger and retire a Charger. Keenan Allen has given up so much for this franchise, and he's arguably the greatest wide receiver in Chargers franchise history. Overall, he is second in receptions, only behind Antonio Gates, a tight end. Second in yards, only behind Antonio Gates, a tight end. Third in touchdowns. Like, what are we talking about? This man is easily okay. It's hard to say that with some of the legends we've had, but most definitely a top five Chargers pass catcher of all time. Personally, for me, in my era that I grew up in, he's the greatest Chargers wide receiver of all time. Like, what are we talking about here, guys? Bring this man back. Not only that, what does our wide receiver room look like without him, and what does it look like with him? So, because this is an argument that I've heard. This is like, thank God Twitter's been 80% like pro Keenan signing, but the 20% that isn't is very much like he better not eat into eat into targets and playing time for the rookies. Think about what you said there. Eat into targets and playing time for rookies. Do you want to be a competitive team or do you want to be a constantly rebuilding team? Because constantly rebuilding teams are always looking for their rookie and making sure that they have the most playing time possible. And contending teams care about putting the best talent on the field, and your rookies either earn that spot and end up on the field or they don't. And personally, I want to be the contending team. So, we're talking about Trey Harris and KLS here. That's realistically who we're talking about is those two. KLS fanboys, which I'm becoming one of them, but KLS fanboys have been fans of KLS for like 3-4 weeks. What do you, what are we talking about? I've had a cold last longer than that. Like, what are we talking about, guys? And so I just can't get past this. You have to just make sure that the young guys are fed and that they're developed. They're going to be developed. They're working with NFL coaches for the first time in their college career or in their career, by the way. Like they are at the next level now, just got here to the next level. Let their bodies develop. Like look at KLS on a football field. He doesn't look like your ex receiver. He doesn't look like the Mike Williams role that people want him to take. Like, he doesn't look like a physical guy who's going to be able to withstand press coverage versus certain NFL caliber corners. We've seen him against our corners, which, no offense, aren't that great, mostly with the second team, and in one preseason game where no starters played for the Lions. Like, I want to be excited about him too. I am excited about the future. But why would you not bring in arguably the greatest Charger wide receiver of all time if you have the opportunity and let KLS develop a little more slowly? Don't risk injury. Don't push him too much. Let him build his confidence. Don't have a QJ situation where he goes out there, makes some mistakes, and just turns into a subpar NFL player. Like, do I think that that would happen? No, not necessarily. But if you're given the option, why would you not add veteran presence to the room? And same goes for Trey Harris. Like, I am the biggest Trey Harris fanboy. And if bringing Keenan in and KLS being that great means that Trey Harris gets 40 targets this year, oh, like that means that everything else is going so well that we don't have to rotate him in that much. Like, that's excellent. That means Ladd stays healthy and Keenan stays healthy and KLS stays healthy and is that guy, or Quentin Johnston improves. Like, all of these are net positives for the Chargers. The only actual like worst case scenario is Keenan Allen's not that good anymore. He's actually washed, like you all like to say. The other guys get above him on the depth chart, and Keenan comes in for 25-30% of the snaps. The Quentin Johnston haters. Why don't you want to bring more wide receiver competition in? You want him on the bench. You don't want him to see the playing field. What are you talking about? Like, let these young cats learn and develop, and not only that, from one of the best route runners in the game. Keenan Allen, for most of his career, was a top route runner in the league, second only to Devontae Adams. Like, that is who Keenan Allen is. Why? And we have no veteran presence in this room. Like, is that missed by most people? That's crazy if it is. Like, we need something. Like, Quentin Johnston is our second most tenured wide receiver. Think about that. Like, what are we even talking about here, guys? We need a veteran for QJ, let alone letting QJ be the veteran. You think Jalen Reagor, who's, by the way, a significantly higher NFL bust than Quentin is, you think Jalen Reagor should be the veteran presence in the room for how to be a pro's pro? What are we talking about? And I like Reagor. I think he's an excellent depth piece. I like Quentin. I think he's an excellent role player. I love Trey Harris. I really like KLS. But what I don't like is going in with a bunch of young horses if we have to get into must-win situations against a significantly harder schedule with arguably a worse defense and arguably a barely improved offensive line. And we go in and we're just like, no, we got to let the young guys develop. What if they can't get open? What if the offense just doesn't work because those guys have growing pains, which is extremely normal at the NFL level? Like, what are we talking about here? And I know I'm getting a little grumpy. I'm trying not to be grumpy because I'm so excited about the idea of Keenan coming back. And for those who do harp on the whole Keenan's washed thing, what are you talking about? Like, look at what he did last year, 700 and something yards as the wide receiver 2-3 combo. Like, in the Bears offense, that was abysmal. And you're comparing that to going back home with the Chargers with Justin Herbert, who knows him very well, has an excellent relationship with him, trusts him specifically on third downs. Like, what was the problem that we had last year in the playoffs? People couldn't separate Justin Herbert, couldn't trust him, and the offensive line on the interior got caked in. Now, obviously, that's still going to be a problem. So let's solve the other problem, the weapons. Okay, no, we're just going to count on the two rookies. I heard most of you guys say the same thing last year. We have Brendan Rice and Cornelius Johnson. Come on. And I know people weren't as bullish on them. Like, we still knew we had a poor wide receiving room. And obviously, the two guys that we brought in this year appear to be better prospects by a good margin. But let's also be reasonable here. They're rookies. Bring in a veteran who knows the nuance of route running, which does not affect you at an older age, by the way. We can sit here and talk about that too. Like, Keenan Allen's game ages gracefully because he is such an excellent route runner. Like, you can't tell me that his burst in athleticism is that important when his best season of his career, I believe 2017, 1,400 yards. And that was what happened in 2016 for his ACL. For his ACL in like week 4 or 6 or something. Like, he did not play that much. And sure enough, comes back in 2017 and is statistically his best season. That's because he doesn't rely on his athleticism and burst. He's just better than you at seeing the field. He's crafty and smart. let him teach the other guys that. And even if you don't care about Quentin anymore, let him teach Trey Harris that. That would be a huge aspect to his game. That is a huge aspect to his game. Let him make Ladd better. Can you imagine Ladd taking another step? Do you know how incredibly valuable that is for us? Like it's okay for Ladd to get better. Like y'all are so worried about Keenan Allen pushing out other people. What if he's pushing them up? Like coach him up or coach him out. It's one of my favorite sayings of all time. And that's exactly what Keenan Allen would be coming in to do. Either he's going to coach him up and they're going to be so excellent that he doesn't see a whole lot of playing time on the field, or he's going to coach him out and they're going to ride the pine and continue to learn. And that is okay. And this is not even talking about the fact that injuries happen in the NFL. Like, how many times have we looked at this roster like, look at us, there's no holes at any of our position groups. Everything's at least solid. And then like 4 weeks in, 6 players are hurt, and all of a sudden we have no depth. Like, let's be reasonable here. This is Keenan Allen, number 13, San Diego Charger. Bring him home. Bring him home. Take snaps away from rookies. Y'all killing me. Speaking of free agent signings, possible Keenan Allen signing. Hopefully, by the time you guys heard all this, he's already a Charger again. But we signed Nesta Jade Silvera today. Don't know who it is. Don't particularly care. But I will say that it was very rude of the Chargers to sign a free agent today when we're all sitting on the edge of our seats and we all just saw, we signed, not Keenan. And then not only that, for it to be a Raiders defensive tackle that's not Christian Wilkins. Like if there was ever a fallback, like it wasn't even like oh, it's not Keenan, but shit, we got Christian Wilkins. No, it's like we got someone who might compete at a room where we have 6 pretty good guys and no one who's like supremely excellent, and sure would be nice if we had one. Let's sign another one of those dudes. But I ain't gonna question it. Ortiz knows what he's doing. Get depth, give competition. I don't care. But just rude. Just kind of rude to see. Thanks, Chargers. Um, but on the defensive side of the ball, at least we got Denzel Perryman back. Because Junior Colson has not looked good. And I really like Junior Colson coming out of school. Specifically, the mentor fit was a huge part of it, I'll be honest. But the grit, the grind, the playing with the clubs, like all of it, how well he played in that national championship game, like all of it. Loved it. Loved Junior Colson. Thought his brain for the game was going to be a huge leg up going into this Jesse Minter defense. Apparently, that's not the case because he's struggling. His reaction time is bad. But we're not here to talk about him because we're talking about the fact that Denzel Perryman will be back on the field and everything should all be okay. I will be astonished if there's a suspension because all charges were dropped. Weird start to finish, like going to the gun range on his day off, gets pulled over. Don't know if he was speeding. Don't know if it was road rage. Don't know if his tabs were expired. I don't know. But he got searched, which I find interesting. And so, how that came up in conversation, I'm not going to get into the political side of things, but how that came up is very peculiar unless there's some kind of California state law where it's like, okay, I'm going to the gun range. So do you have guns in the vehicle? Yes. Okay, we need to inspect the guns. I don't know. I don't know how that goes. Maybe he was just very honest and forthcoming and truthful, and that's how that all came to light. I don't know. But his trunk being searched to then find non compliant guns is, as someone who doesn't live in California, kind of weird. Um, and then held without bail. Like, hasn't everyone gotten bail? Like, didn't Rasheed Rice get bail after, what he did? Which I would say is more dangerous than just owning the guns while you're openly telling someone you're on the way to the gun range. Um, I Were the guns loaded? Like, I'm so confused at how it got so kind of out of hand. And then obviously from the get go, his hearing was set for today, and he waited out the judicial process. Can't believe he didn't get out of jail and actually had to sit there for 4 days. Um, so I thought that was odd. Like that's just kind of a strange thing for him to have to sit in jail for 4 days, especially for that charge. And then on top of that, Harbaugh comes to visit. Can you imagine Jim Harbaugh in Inglewood prison, Inglewood jail? Like it's just a funny thought to me. Just moseying around, chipper as shit. trying to cheer everybody up as they're stuck waiting to get sentenced to jail. It's just a hoot. Um, but yeah, so that's. But also look at Jim Harbaugh. Dude's a ride or die. Like Denzel Perryman is not an old school Michigan guy. He doesn't have a tremendous amount of relationship with him outside of the 1 year with the Chargers, which by Jim Harbaugh standards might be a heck of a relationship because the way that that man builds relationships is insane. And so, and then he gets released with sending the charges back to the PD. Like it's or PD, PD, back to the police department. Just says, hey, you don't have enough information here. I'm not even going to consider charging somebody for these felony gun charges based off of what you have. Get me more. Which, given the fact that the evidence was the evidence in this case, unless they can prove that he was going to do something malicious that isn't a gun range, um, I it's just goofy. It's a weird situation. It was weird to follow. I was surprised just with how we've heard about people talk about Denzel, the character that he has. We've heard it for years everywhere he goes. And so it was surprising in the first place for it to be, of course, the Chargers have had a good clean streak and then it's Denzel Perryman of all things and then that kind of wonky charge that gets dropped immediately. So goofy, weird, happy it's all behind us because we need him out there playing well this year. Troy Dye has looked excellent. I am fine with however they want to rotate that room. I'm just going to be a little bit disappointed if Junior Colson isn't what we thought he was going to be. Even if he is 80% of what we thought he was going to be, I will be pretty darn happy because Dion Henley has become who he is. So I'm fine with the rotation, but if one guy's hurt and those three guys need to rotate and one guy is very specifically a weak link, I would hate to see that. So hopefully it's not the case. Um, in other news, Najee waiting or walking around, hanging around the Chargers facility, making laps around all three different practice fields. What does that mean for a superficial eye injury? Who knows? I don't know. Um, but apparently he's effectively walking around. I made a post on Twitter and Chris Rim commented on it, which was hilarious. It was awesome, actually, for me, but it was kind of hilarious as well because it was kind of a satirical post and I got a very serious response from Chris Rim, but I'll take it. I'll take it any way I can. But but no, he's just walking around all three practice facilities, could definitely pass a field sobriety test. And I loved that. And so, I mean, it's better than him not being at the Chargers facility, obviously. Like, it's definitely improvement. I almost feel like there was so much chatter going on that they're like, Najee, make an appearance, dude. So he's just out here being with the boys, hanging out. Hopefully, he can see out of his left eye or whatever eye it is. But I am not worried about him not playing this year. I'm worried about him missing the start of the season a little bit. I'm significantly more worried about this affecting his play. If the vision aspect of things is not there, like I'm more worried about that side of things, because almost the way that they're doing it is kind of like a you can't touch it, can't get near it because it needs to heal situation. That's why he's not in any contact or any other type of situations to where anything can get possibly hurting the eye. But it's also just he's clearly recovering, and so it feels like let's sure hope that everything's good at the end of all this. And it seems like they expect it to be good at the end of all this, but it's just one of those kinds of organs to me. Like this is an eyeball that I don't feel like you can 100,000% project how it's going to heal. But hey, I'm not involved in modern medicine, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. So worried about it, a healthy amount of worry. I'm not freaking out. I'm not losing sleep over the situation. So, um, we'll see kind of how things shake out, but hopefully he's back on the field soon because at the end of the day, even though he's a many year veteran and it's a position that you kind of should be able to pick up on decently well from a protection standpoint and a play calling standpoint. Um, I'm glad that he's at the facility. I hope he's starting to kind of absorb and retain all of that because Najee is a position that I specifically really wanted to hit the ground running because I just don't want, and this goes back to the wide receiver situation too, I don't want rookies carrying all the load. Like, it'd be badass if on week 8 and on, like, yeah, they had turned into studs. They figured it out. The game slowed down for them. Guess what? We can't afford to lose that many games through week 8 because the last 5, 6 games are a gauntlet. So, I sure as hope we can hit the ground running as best as possible. Um, let's just get into it. I've been avoiding this one. I was kind of saving it for last. The interior of the offensive line. Jim Harbaugh announced today that he's kind of identified who his best five are that he wants to put out there. So if you don't remember, all last year he kept talking about, I don't care what their positions are, I'm going to put my best five out there. And so he came out today and said his best five are Mekhi Becton plus the rest of the offensive line from last year. He did also say that if he was to choose today, Bozeman would be center, which means everybody's also maintaining the same positions as they had last year outside of Mekhi. So, not an ideal situation for us hopeful Chargers fans. Whatever you hoped for, we all hope for improved play on the interior offensive line. I hoped that Zion took steps at center. And so we opened up a competition at left guard for whoever that may be, but at least it would be change, hopefully moving in the right direction. And that still can be the case. It is not, the nail is not in the coffin on this. But the five seem to be picked. Like the five seem to be chosen at this point. Now, you never know what could happen, but it is a frustration for pretty much all of us. Even the most hopeful fans are frustrated. Like Haglund and Schoen and Insdorf, like all the GAT guys, very optimistic. They are incredibly politically correct. They can hold their tongue a little better than me, I feel like at times. They're very neutral and pro Chargers, and not in a bad way. This is not disrespectful to them in any way. But even they're losing their stuff. Like, oh, cool, we're doing it again. What is the definition of insanity? We all know. Doing the same thing over again, expecting a different result. Like, oh, why did this feel like a good idea? Why did we not address this with better urgency and more intent? Like, this was one of the better off seasons resource wise that most teams have in a very long time, especially when they're competitive. You talk about the tip of the spear and you talk about competitors welcome, and it feels like lies. And I'm going to beat this again because it's just frustrating. And I will sit here and say, like, there's a force multiplier that happens. And I have to count on it at this point because it's not as much individual positions can have the same amount of effect no matter what. Like having the right guard position fulfilled with Mekhi Becton, if he stays healthy and plays to any level of his capacity of what he played last year, like you no longer have three weaknesses in the middle of your offensive line. You have a strength, one in there. You have one guy who's at least a strength. That's two guys that are now a weakness. Now, I'd really prefer to not have two guys right next to each other who are a weakness on the offensive line, but they have strengths to them as well. Like Bozeman, at least, not Bozeman, sorry. Zion is at least excellent in the run game. Like there are strengths to it as well. And so going from three weak points along the interior down to two helps. Hopefully, it helps more than just 1/3 of the chunk because there are things called force multipliers. 1 plus 1 doesn't always equal 2. It's the effect of synergy. And so not only that, the run game, just purely from a talent and running back perspective. So if Marion Hampton is even close to worth a first round pick, Najee Harris being the model of consistency, if he can hold up that role a little bit, because that's all we need to some extent. Like we need him to be an improved version of Gus Edwards than last year. And if Marion Hampton is a hopefully pretty strong improvement over J.K. Dobbins because he's a strong stud 21-year-old running back, and that's kind of what you expect when you draft that player in the first round. If he's a better version of J.K. Dobbins, which I think his game compares a lot to pre-injury J.K. Dobbins, then that's a pretty dang good start. So if you improve the running game, which helps the play action and passing game from a protection standpoint and pass rush standpoint, and then you improve the right guard position, like that's could be a lot more than just upgrading a guy and replacing a running back. Like it really will make a force multiplier difference, but it doesn't matter to me at the end of the day because it just still feels like they avoided investment, whether it be draft capital, happy how the draft went overall, whether it be free agency, happy overall how free agency went. But if you don't spend this $30 million that we have, or even another chunk of it, like, why did you need the extra money? Why couldn't you go out and done something? Like, if you can't go out there, like, you could have drafted a center at any point, any earlier point. You could have drafted a left guard at any earlier point. Like, it's at what point is enough enough? And I feel like for Chargers fans this season, with the way that the offensive line is talked about, which how much it's been beaten into our head, and how much we talk about probably offensive line play more than 85% of NFL franchises because it's part of our coach's identity and we expect it to be part of it. And then you don't put your money where your mouth is. It sucks, man. It's frustrating. We saw what happened to Justin Herbert in that playoff game. Like, Chargers fans are not stupid. We all talked about it throughout the year. And we knew that this was going to be an issue. We didn't necessarily know that it was going to be that glaring of an issue, but it wasn't a surprise to any of us when the offensive line struggled as mightily as they did in that playoff game. And all we could talk about was we just need weapons and interior. There's a lot of other things. We got to sign a lot of free agents. Don't forget that. Like, most of our team are free agents, but big places to focus on is some more weapons and the interior offensive line. And we addressed the weapons. Hopefully, got young talent there. We didn't go sign a free agent stud. Brought Mike Williams back. Love the reunion. If that's replaced with Keenan Allen, it's going to be an acceptable development and replacement. Like, that's fine. KLS kind of possibly struck gold. Trey Harris, I'm surprised, fell to us. Like, we kind of lucked out a little bit in the department of weapons. I'm not going to lie to you. Trading up for Rondé Gadsden may have been a really clutch move, Joe Ortiz. I appreciate you. But no investment until Branson Taylor. It's like, what are we doing? Apparently, the exact same thing all over again. And all I can hope is that that force multiplier is a heck of a lot greater than what most fans expect and even what I expect. Like, it's fingers crossed, hope for the best, hope that they improve just enough to make us not a bottom unit in the NFL in that regard. Or they're wise enough to open up competition and battle and someone else shows up. Like, you have that guy deep, like Branson Taylor turns into a stud left guard or something halfway through the year. They're like, we got to put in Branson Taylor and he's legit. Like, yeah, that situation can still happen, but it's just not something that I'm counting on. So I will say there's a whiteboard over here that you guys can't see where I've sat here and ran every calculation that I can think of so far that's somewhat reasonable, trying to figure out how we can get Keenan and Micah Parsons and Christian Wilkins and go to the Super Bowl and win it, because that would be just ridiculously awesome. Addresses all three areas of need besides, the offensive line situation, but addresses those big three. But just spoiler alert, it doesn't work. There's no way to make it happen. If we make two of those things happen, I will be astounded. If we make one of those things happen, probably signing Keenan Allen is the most likely, especially if you hear the way Chargers players talk about him. Like that, I'll be okay with it. Like, I'll be happy. If we sign none of them, I'll be kind of bummed and annoyed. Maybe just because I want a little bit of action more than anything else. But I'd be amazed if we don't sign Keenan at this point, because if you listen to any of those Kay Adams interviews or any of the interviews over the last couple days at the presser table or anything like that, the way that they talk about Keenan is like he's home. He's still Keenan Allen. He's out here doing things. Man, it'll be such a huge lift to have him, like stuff like that, and even. Like, I know that they have contract disputes and stuff like that. What's Keenan gonna do? Do you think he's gonna go somewhere else over $1 million or $2? Like, if he gets an $8 million deal from someone and we offered him a $6 million deal, and he's in California, back with the Chargers, team that he loves, still has his home out here. Like, let's be realistic. So at this point, I fully expect Keenan Allen to be a Charger again. Either one of the other two guys would be a surprise to me, but a very welcome surprise. So that's where I'm at. Exciting days ahead of us. I think we'll get some good good exciting news this week. Probably start trimming down the roster, I would guess, after next game, so that we can continue to refine everything. I'm really excited to see how playing time in the next Hall of Fame game shakes out, and to see where this team's gonna kind of go. See what the front office prioritizes this year, how we want to allocate our resources. I'm assuming we're going to probably keep our purse strings a little bit tight, but I guess we'll find out in the next day or two. Like I said, hopefully by the time you guys saw this, Keenan Allen's already a Charger, and this is a whole lot of hoopla for nothing. But anyway, I appreciate you guys coming out. Thanks for listening, and these are Nature's Calls. Talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys like what you heard, please feel free to give me a like and subscribe. Helps me a ton. Also helps you guys stay up to date on all new content as I'm releasing it. If you're not already on my YouTube channel, feel free to hop on over at Nature's Calls Pod. Also on Spotify under Nature's Calls Podcast. Or if you like to consume your content just by scrolling, go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter at Erdman Chargers. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Talk to you real soon.